With that breaking headline today, a Michigan doctor sentenced, being called a monster. A day of reckoning for the doctor who diagnosed hundreds of patients with cancer when they did not have it. Outside the court, the tears and anger. He lied to so many patients, giving many of them extensive chemotherapy, which then made them sick. So many of those families today coming face to face with the doctor as he was sentenced to 45 years behind bars.
When it comes to this video, Madeline turned him every which way but loose. Let's see.
I made a video talking about how, as an American, if I want to be on the right side of history 99% of the time, the easiest way to do this is just to not agree with anything the United States government is telling me. If the United States tells me a country's my enemy, it's probably not. If the United States tells me somebody's my ally, they're probably up to no good. This is the simplest shortcut to having a pretty good opinion about foreign policy that you as an American can take if you don't have time to research things. Fortunately, I do have time to research things. And that is why when this person said, if you don't like it here, you should try going to North Korea, Iran, or Afghanistan, I had to laugh. These are hilarious examples of other countries to choose, and I will explain why. First of all, North Korea, I as an American am not allowed to visit. I think I spent a lot of my childhood assuming this was because North Korea didn't want people going there and seeing what was going on. Actually, people from other countries can and do visit North Korea, but you know who's not allowed to visit North Korea? Americans. And it's not because North Korea won't allow us, but our own government will not allow us. Instead, they're content to make sure anything we think we know about the region comes from one source primarily, Radio Free Asia, a fake news source started by the CIA with the expressed goal of being anti-communist propaganda. Any weird story you've heard about North Korea, like that everybody there has to get the same haircuts? Yeah, that probably came from Radio Free Asia, which to this day is funded entirely by the United States government. So, babe, I cannot go to North Korea because the United States will not allow me. Because they do not want Americans to see the disconnect between the propaganda machine that they have created, telling you things about North Korea, and what actually happens in North Korea. The second example, Iran, is somehow even more perplexing for you to bring up, because if you know anything, you know that the democratically elected prime minister of Iran was overthrown in a violent coup by the U.S. government. Why? Because he was going to nationalize the oil fields in American business. So instead, we overthrew him and installed a right-wing dictatorship that was sympathetic to American interests. A puppet government, if you will, that so violated and infuriated the Iranian people that they overthrew our puppet government, dispelled all of the Americans, and put in instead a reactionary government whose main goal was to oppose U.S. intervention in any capacity. Everything you don't like about Iran, babe, you don't like because the United States government did it. That's right. My country, the United States, destabilized all of Iran for decades, dismantling their democracy because their democratic voting process led to a result that was not favorable to us. Not exactly the most ethical course of action, if you ask me. And last, Afghanistan. I can only assume you must be extremely young to include Afghanistan on this list, because if you have been alive for nearly as long as I have, I am 37 years old, the United States efforts in your lifetime to destabilize Afghanistan. The CIA was so heavily involved in Afghanistan, funding and training covert terrorist organizations there to fight against communism in the region, that we actually kind of created a big problem for ourselves. What was it? Say it with me. The Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Yes, all of that came from CIA funding in Afghanistan. Then our government proceeded to bomb the shit out of Afghanistan in the wars that followed 9/11. We didn't like what we had created, I guess, displacing nearly 6 million people in Afghanistan. So everything you don't like about Afghanistan right now, yeah, that's directly the result also of the United States. This is what I mean when I say, if you want to know what opinion you should take about foreign policy as an American to be on the right side of history, USA bad is the opinion that will get you to the right place 99% of the time.
Moral of the story, we not welcome over there.
So how do we take back our planet if we understand that we've been invaded? Well, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. But who were the first? According to science, not me, if you trace the mitochondria Eve gene as far back as they go, they find out it comes from a group of African women. And these African women predate any male fossil they found by, I don't know, it's 100,000 or millions of years, one of those two. Either way, a very long time. So the first humans on this earth to roam this earth, to have domain over this earth, were women. Black women, who eventually gave birth to other women, who gave birth to their races, because all colors come from black, right? Like, we don't have to be ignorant about this no more. So in order to take back Mother Earth, a feminine planet, we must have the women, especially the first woman of this planet, wake up, return to her natural state of being, and call forth Mother Earth, and ask for her powers back, ask for her dominion over the planet back. These women gave birth to gods, and before these gods were corrupted, these gods were appointed the protectors of her nation, of her children. And that's what we're supposed to do. But right now, we're beating the nation, beating the children. Everything is fucking wrong. So in order for us to get back into a state in which the world isn't suffering, we need the mothers to come back and realize their power. Realize that even the universe itself is more feminine than masculine, because the universe gave birth to everything, did it not? There is not a male being in this whole universe that didn't come from a womb, a portal, however you want to call it. Same goes for this planet. And we're made in God's image, right? And only women give birth, and only female animals give birth. So if we're made in God's image, that means females give birth. The feminine gives birth. So if God is God, he's a son, he's still a father, which means he must have a mother. He must have a mater, because the mater gives birth. Now you see why there was an attack on people that looked like me, especially our females. All they had to do was destroy their protector. Once they destroyed their protector and they felt defenseless, then they just beat the shit out of her and broke her down mentally and physically. Did the same to the male, and now we both think that we don't need each other, when in truth we need each other, because we complement each other. I am the power to her wisdom. That's what she gave me. Before women split off into two, they were big Amazonian women. They were strong and they were psychic with wisdom. They gave away their strength to us to be their protectors, and they are the keepers of the wisdom. They pass the wisdom along to us. That's why in ancient Egypt you see the woman standing behind the man, not because she is lesser or standing behind him, because she is guiding him. She's whispering in his ear what she sees in her dreams, what she feels, because the Mother Earth tells the women first what they feel. And we direct it, especially as we are now the symbol of power. That's why we're the forefront. But if we don't get back to our natural ways, we're going to be destroyed. Mother Earth is going to purge everything. There is something about women that wakes up the God within men. But if the women don't wake up and they don't act godly, they don't act like a goddess, the men will never act like a god. They're going to keep being pimps, players, and niggas. But take a look at all the mythological stories. When the man go defeat the dragon, when the man try to do some manly shit and go fight the gods and the titans and shit, he doing it for his woman and his children and his people. But right now, niggas is selfish as hell, and we don't give a fuck. The world needs that motherly love that was taken and beaten from them. Until the mothers wake up, the Mother Earth won't wake up, the Mother Universe won't wake up. We need the mothers to realize who they are and why they're being put at the bottom of the totem pole. Why you can't speak in the church, why you can't be a president, why you can't have political power and all this shit. Why the popes and the Catholics and all these other motherfuckers pray to a black Madonna, but we don't know nothing about it. Putin talking about it, everyone talking about it about us. It's like a big old joke that everybody knows except us.
There's extraterrestrials out there, Al, as well.
What?
Do you think there's aliens?
You know, I've been asked that question hundreds of times. Do you believe in aliens? And I say, yeah. Have you ever seen one? I say, yeah, I have. Well, how have you seen them? Well, I said, I look in the mirror every morning. Because that's what we are. We are the aliens, but we just
think we're the thing.
We just think they're somebody else, but we're the ones who came from somewhere else. Because somebody else had to survive, and they got in a little spacecraft, and they came here, and they landed, and they started civilization here. That's what I believe. And if you don't believe me, go get books on the ancient Sumerians and see what they had to say.
That's a whole different discussion now.
They'll tell you right up front.
You've blown that right open.
Yeah.
Wow,
Sadly, we can't get into that.
That's like we're floating on the dark side of the moon right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I don't want to get too complicated.
No, it's brilliant. It's so fascinating to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Playing the genie. You know what? The movie was never real. It was the rumor started in 2009. I don't know where it came from, but it's not real.
For those who said, hey, you saw Suzanne when I was growing up, yeah, you did. It did exist. It took a lot of government intervention to get those videos out of people's homes and out of the video stores. I'm lucky because I'm ex-military, ex-special forces. So we were able to do a lot of mind control stuff to get those videotapes away from people. There's 3 tapes left. There are 3 Shazam videos still out there we did not find. And if we find you, we're gonna kill you. And I just want you to know that. I want you to be aware of that because I felt bad that you didn't know you're on a hit list. And I'm ashamed. I'm totally ashamed of that. But I'm just saying, if you have that Shazam video, you're on a short list to have an assassin come to your house. So I'm not saying what to do. I'm not saying, hey, if you want to post it on Twitter or something, say, hey, I got the video, but that means your whole family's gone. And I'm just trying to put that out there because I feel bad because of my weakness, not admitting that I did Shazam when I was in a bad space in my life. I was in a bad place in my life. And I just want to tell people, it gets better. It gets better.
What are you doing? Dad could have thrown out all of them stuff. He just could have. There's gotta be something he forgot here. Something real. We can remember about it. Hey, we have our memories. They're real. No one can take that from us.
Nina, what's up? Can you imagine if Dad saw this mess?
Bless you. What is that? Whoa.
Man, it feels good to get out that thing. Oh, kind of cramped up in there. Should've took you long enough, Tina. Wait, you're not Tina. Wait. Where you going? I just got here. What happened to saying hello? I believe we got off on the wrong foot.
Don't come in closer.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start all over, right? I'm gonna introduce myself. I am Shazam! I'm the genie of the lamp. And you are?
You're not a genie. Genies aren't real.
Every time I come out the lamp, I hear the same thing.
You better get out of here,
Oh,
right?
you will. But you gonna toot me to death? Shazam! Not gonna scream again, are you? Look. If you do, I'm gonna take my wishes, buddy.
He is a genie.
You're a little Tina.
That was my mom's name.
How long have I been in this lab? She has kids now? I thought we had something going on, maybe. Now, I know I'm 2,000 years older than she is, but look, Clint Eastwood did it. It can happen. Age ain't nothing but a number. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, you knew her mom?
We will be playing momentarily by the Canadian Aviation Weather Cam located at Cheakamus Canyon Tower. These photos are unedited, untouched, raw footage of what came from the Canadian Aviation Weather Cam. We will now begin the video of the double sunrise in time-lapse mode. Each frame is 10 minutes. The entire video happens over the course of 2 hours and 10 minutes. As you can see, it starts out looking like only one sun, but as it rises over the mountaintops, it actually splits into 2 completely separate suns. The second sun that you will see in the video is, at least in part, causing our red sunrises and red sunsets to occur each and every day. This is not normal. In the past, either the sunrise or the sunset was red, not both. The reason that this sunrise does not appear red is because the sun actually rose over an hour ago and we are seeing it rise above the mountain later in the morning. For those who were able to see the earlier sunrise in this area on this morning, it was indeed very red.
Got there steam coming out the ground up here in New York. That is it. Nothing. Concrete. Steam. Tony better bring his ass on, get this shit. You can't be standing here blocking up the road for 20 minutes.
And it went from designs that complemented the landscape around them to a kind of architecture that clearly hates people, that is designed to oppress the human spirit and make people feel without value, worthless.
Have you heard the Tartarian?
Have you ever heard of Tartaria?
Tartaria.
You've never heard of Tartaria? Oh, it's like my favorite.
Tartarian truth, ancient Tartarian wisdom.
It comes down to this. There's a theory called Tartaria.
Tartaria is real.
Tartarian. The lost civilization of Tartaria.
Tartaria.
Yeah. No, that's a big thing.
That blew my mind.
What do you think of that building? You'd say that's beautiful, because beauty is inherent. Every person recognizes beauty. It's consistent with the symmetry of nature. And I thought, whoever built that cared about the people. It was built by the people who live there for the people who live there, and they loved the people who lived there because they were related to them or knew them. It was built by peasants without machines.
They manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. That's right, Michael. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know.
On top of the Nation of Islam, never defending black people and only attacking black people like Malcolm X stated and like we've seen, contrary to that, there's plenty images which make me suspect the Nation of Islam's alleged loyalty and agenda to the black community. You got images of them defending known cult members like Jim Jones. If you don't know who Jim Jones is, that saying, don't drink the Kool-Aid, that's where that comes from. Jim Jones, poisoned all of them black people and babies, in his cult and killed them, by the thousands. And there's pictures of the American neo-Nazi party accompanied by George Rockwell, front row of Nation of Islam, at a Nation of Islam summit. And so, their loyalty and their true agenda is very questionable. Not even now, but, even then, period. As I stated before, Malcolm X stated that Elijah Muhammad was a pedophile. And in another interview he did, he went from saying that it was 6 alleged girls to saying that it was 9.
Yes, he's immoral. You can't take 9 teenage women and seduce them and give them babies and not tell me and then tell me you're moral. You could do it if you admitted you did it and admitted that the babies were yours. I'd shake your hand and call you a man. A good one too. But anytime you seduce teenage girls and make them be charged with adultery, make them hide your crime, why, you're not even a man, much less a divine man. So, and this is what he did. He took at least 9 that we know about. And I'm not speculating because he told this to me himself. Yes, that's why he wanted me dead, because he knew that as soon as I woke up, I'd tell him.
But we had a law which was that whenever any Muslim became involved in any kind of sexual relationship with someone to whom they weren't married, that person would be brought before the Muslim community, humiliated, and then isolated for from 1 to 5 years. This was our law. Well, in 1954, a teenage sister left Detroit and became one of Mr. Muhammad's personal secretaries. And there in the Chicago office, she became pregnant after being there for a year. And she was brought before the Muslim community and humiliated and isolated. And a year later, another secretary, this time one from Lansing, Michigan, came to Chicago. She also became pregnant. She was brought before the community and humiliated and isolated. And because the other person was never brought forth during this court session, it was concluded by all of Mr. Muhammad's followers that it was a non-Muslim who was the other party. Well, we grew so rapidly until that in 1957 or 58, the secretarial staff was expanded to, I think, 8 teenage sisters. In 1959, 6 of them disappeared. 2 of them reappeared in Philadelphia about 2 or 3 months later, and they were all right. The other 4 reappeared in 1960. All 4 of them had babies. All 4 of them had become involved with someone and become pregnant and had these children. So it was, from what I now know, when the 4 of them got back to Chicago and began to compare notes, they found that the same man had told all of them the same story and had made all of them pregnant. That the same man was the father of all 4 of their children and had also been the father of the children brought forth by the 2 secretaries who preceded them.
And so on top of that, you know, the very foundations of the Nation of Islam, as I stated earlier, is very shaky. You know, according to Elijah Muhammad's son, his father lied about what he was told by Wallace Dodd, a.k.a. W.D. Farad, a.k.a. W.D. Muhammad.
Was the incarnation of he was God on earth. You know.
I differed with my father.
Yes.
And I didn't want to differ with him.
Yes.
In fact, I never differed with him directly. I was told, he was told that someone heard me saying something different. Mm-hmm. So he called me to question me about it. And I told him that I could more readily believe that he was God than I could believe that his teacher was God, because his teacher was a white man and he said white people were devils. And also I told him that I understand something from your teacher that makes me believe that he said those things, but he also left enough evidence of his real intent, and that was to bring us to the correct idea of God in Islam. For example, my mother, when I was leaving the home one day, after my father had insisted that I accept God the way he presented God, or I was going to be cut off from all communication. He told me he knew it would hurt me to know that I wouldn't be able to see my mother. He said, you won't be able to talk to your mother or see her. So I didn't change. And as I was leaving, my mother was hurt, and it hurt me to see her hurting like that. She said she walked me to the door, which she didn't do. That was normal for her. When my father excused you. And she stood on the porch at the door and she said, Wallace, why don't you go back there and accept? Just say you believe. I said, Mama, tell me what Mr. Farad told you all. I said, did he tell you he was God? And she looked like her face went blank and looked like she didn't know what to say. And a few seconds she said, no, he did not. Said, in fact, he told us to not even call him prophet. Said that was too big a title for him. Then I said to my mother, how can you ask your son now to accept a man as God who told you prophet was too big a title for him?
And so on top of Malcolm X having such a huge level of distrust with Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, other leaders such as, you know, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Sabi, also, you know, had their opinions on the fraudulent behavior, you know, and the fraudulent status of Louis Farrakhan.
And suppose
One of our leaders, I'm going to pick out a famous one so it'll make you angry, but at least make you think. Suppose a faker like Louis Farrakhan would say, I will not ride in a limousine until my people make a limousine.
All right.
He could revolutionize and create a black auto industry.
All right.
But what is he doing?
All right.
Begging at the feet of Arab slave traders for a handout.
I was concerned with the black leadership of America, not medical science. When I had cured these people of sickle cell and lupus and herpes and blindness, I was happy. I said, now I could go to all the leaders. I could go to Minister Farrakhan. I could go to Jesse Jackson. I could go to Al Sharpton. I could go to Oprah Winfrey. But what I found out, I was mistaken. I was wrong. They are not interested in the healing of any black people.
That's an explosive claim.
That is not an explosive statement. That is a reality. There isn't a black leader in America that is interested in the health of the black race.
Do you say that because they refuse to interact with you?
They are not in the position to respond. If they were, my first case of AIDS was cured in 1984. Yeah. And since then, we've been curing people of lupus and herpes and cancer and blindness. Not one black leader ever said, well, let us help the brother.
And so after the agenda to get rid of Malcolm X was successful, Louis Farrakhan then begins to, at this point, what you would call sell out, and deviate from his message. But he tries to do it in a tone to where he seems like he's becoming more moral. And the reason I got to tread lightly here is because, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, psychological evolution and ascension, but that's not the case with a snake such as Louis Farrakhan. So he begins to deviate from his message and throw other members such as Khalid Muhammad under the bus. So, for example, we know that the Nation of Islam teaches that the white man is the devil. You start to see Louis Farrakhan make statements such as not only can white people join the Nation of Islam now, to which Elijah Muhammad, his founder, once said that they couldn't, but that he's found something different and evolved beyond the teachings of Elijah Muhammad.
My husband Michael and hold hands. I walk with my husband Michael and hold hands. It's like a whole new world for me. Just walking and holding hands. Something that one of our fellow Americans for years could not do.
What kind of shit is that?
Distinguished guests and men and women of the finest military in the world. Most of all, Admiral Mullen, Deborah. Michael and I also want to acknowledge your son Jack, who's deployed today. All of you have performed extraordinary service to our country.
Hell no!
As you said, when Americans look around the Middle East today, they see one reliable, stable, faithful ally of the United States, and that's the democracy of Israel. Americans know that Israel and the United States share common values, that we defend common interests, that we face common enemies. Iran's leaders know that too. You know, for them, you're the great Satan, we're the little Satan. For them, we are you and you are us. And you know something, Mr. President? At least on this last point, I think they're right. We are you and you are us. We're together. So if there's one thing that stands out clearly in the Middle East today, it's that Israel and America stand together.
I walk with my husband, Michael.
Hey, maybe Tekashi was onto something.
You think Snoop Dogg is a rat? What you mean by that? Look at this camera. Because Snoop Dogg got to order protection on Suge Knight.
What you mean he got to order protection?
He got to order protection on Suge Knight in the 90s.
Well, Snoop would never come. You know, we beat a murder trial for him, but then he was on probation. Then he got caught with guns. And each time it's nothing. They're not going to violate him. That's because he's an informant. He's a rat, a snitch. Yeah.
You guys know about Snoop's altercation with Tupac right before his death?
They went to Vegas, and I didn't want to go to Vegas because the vibe wasn't right. So I went to Warren G's house.
There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy, or none of them. We're not sweating it like that.
This is our family
we
over
peacefully
here.
coexist.
This is our family
we
over
peacefully
here.
coexist.
Tupac said there's no dream of making music with Bad Boy Records. Snoop Dogg agrees. But the very next day, Snoop goes on a radio show and says this.
So I ain't got no issues with Puffy and Biggie. I want to do a song with the niggas.
Why the did you say that?
Because that's how I felt.
Which really makes you question the relationship between these two. Because look at this video call right after he gets the ownership of Death Row Records.
Congratulations, King. Great move, great move, great move. You taught me how to play chess, not checkers. Oh man, one of my greatest students. Every time we sit down with each other and we chop it up, and then we go our separate ways, I'm watching. I'm trying to make you proud of me. Yeah, man, I'm super proud. I was like,
because nobody thought we would show up here.
You taught me how to play chess, not checkers.
There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy.
This is our family.
We peacefully coexist.
This is our family.
We peacefully coexist.
Decision that I made to live.
So I ain't got no issues with Puffy and Biggie. I want to do a song with the niggas. I'm trying to make you proud of me. You taught me how to play chess, not
reason you get up and go to work every day is to make money so that you can provide for your family. But had nobody taken your land, you wouldn't have to get up and work for nobody else to provide for your family. Let's not forget how we got here. The 9-to-5 system was started how? During the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was all about enslaving you. So they created these factories, tore down more trees, polluted the airs, polluted the airwaves so they can create these factories for not just the God race to work in, but the lower human beings who they consider peasants amongst them. Only those first 13 colonies that helped the Draconian and Pleiadians take over this planet were let in. That's why they got the 13 bloodlines. That's why in Europe, white people, y'all know I'm not lying, there's white people watching. Y'all watching. Stop me when I'm lying, white people, Caucasians. In Europe, did you not have royals and did you not have peasants? Right.
They treat y'all just like us a little bit, but they give y'all a little more privilege to keep that white, black race war bullshit going. Meanwhile, they're conquering the whole planet, taking over everything, keeping everybody enslaved. All right, this whole realm is ran by the 13 families, all right, which is the original 13 bloodlines, and they are all the highest ranking human being families. And I told you who they checked in with. They was checking in with the Draconian reptilians and the Pleiadians, who are the extraterrestrial races who run the whole damn realm, who got us under this vast system. Okay?
This is huge. Drone, you know, up flying in the middle of nowhere, dropping off thousands of these. I have no idea what it says. Death to America. What? Death to America. I mean, I don't know what the rest of this means, but this part, it definitely means death to America.
Okay, when the minister departs, the dropping of the leaflets, the angels on the corners, the Muslim sons helping us, and the teaching in 15-minute shifts, does this take place during that departure? Well, none of us know how Almighty Allah is going to call his troops into action. But we do know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that there would be dropping of leaflets that would give approximately 10 days to everyone in this country who belongs or is a national of another country, and that they would be dropped in their languages. So you can imagine all the languages that the ethnic or foreign groups have here telling them to get back to their countries. The angels standing on every other corner that he described are also separating the people in a frantic move. I guess that would be some of the last things that we would hope not to have to see. But they will ask questions simple. Are you with the Muslims or are you with America? Are you with Elijah Muhammad or are you with... And then, depending upon your answer, you will be told where to go. And that separation is taking place as we speak.
The last and make it first. We'll go into that science for you people that don't understand what we're talking about. And I'll bear witness to it in the scriptures. Because we're talking about a new man. I will make a new Jerusalem, greater than the old Jerusalem. And Jerusalem. Jeru or Heru is the Christ. Heru, Horus. Heru, Salam, which means peace. Or it means mausoleum, which means hut, a house. It means the house of Heru, or Heru in peace. It's just talking about your soul. Jerusalem means your soul. That's what it means. That's the real Jerusalem. Not no physical place over in the Middle East and shit. If you go there, you can't find shit but one goddamn wall. If you go to Egypt, you find record on top of records that they got enough hieroglyphics to wrap around the country, wrap around the planet 1,000 times. But yet, you go to that place over there and you don't find nothing but a damn wall, because holy ground is where? Where you stand. This is the temple of God. This is the temple of Solomon, which means the black. Sol, which means sun. Amen, which means hidden, or it means black. The black God. Temple of the black God. Solomon. Temple of Solomon. Holy ground is where you stand. Bethlehem. Beth means house. Ham means black. Black house, black body. House of the black God. But it's also talking about your soul. Jerusalem. The new Jerusalem.
And then look up how old Europeans are. Let's do that. This is Google. It's not, Google wasn't made by a black person, so no one can say shit to us. So
Africans are around 7 million years old.
How old are Europeans? We're 7 million years old. All right? Happy birthday, African. I don't know what day it was on, but how old are Europeans?
The genetic lineage of Europe mysteriously transformed about 4,500 years ago.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, hold on.
You're 4,500 years old.
Wait, how old?
And we 7 million.
Y'all seen this one yet? Y'all know what this is? It's a star. Now you tell me what you think that looks like, and go follow this guy, David Chang.
Wait until the end. I zoom in on it more.
Syndrome. Bring up the subject of Native Americans to any group of Americans. At least one person will claim to have ancestors who were Cherokee, pointing to high cheekbones or straight black hair as evidence. Chances are, there's not a single Indian in his or her family tree. This is a growing trend in the United States. Over 819,000 Americans self-identified as Cherokee in the 2010 federal census, alone or mixed race. Compared to the combined population of the three federally recognized Cherokee tribes, the Cherokee Nation and United Kituwa Band of Cherokee in Oklahoma, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee in North Carolina amounts to fewer than 400,000. Some individuals mark American Indian on census forms may indeed have Cherokee ancestry, but a significant number do not. Over 200 unrecognized tribes claiming to be Cherokee exist nationwide, with some selling fraudulent tribal ID cards representing native culture for non-natives. They choose Cherokee identity because the Cherokee are a historical symbol of the so-called Indian civilization.
particular that terrified my client the most. A simple 3-stage maneuver that could topple a country's government from within. The first stage was isolation. Disable their communication and transportation. Make the target as deaf, dumb, and paralyzed as possible, and setting them up for the second stage. Synchronized chaos. Terrorize them with covert attacks and misinformation. Overwhelming their defense capabilities, leaving their weapon systems vulnerable to extremists in their own military. Without a clear enemy or motive, people would start turning on each other. Done successfully, the third stage would happen on its own. What's the third stage? A coup d'etat. Civil war. Collapse. This program was considered the most cost-effective way to destabilize a country. Because if the target nation was dysfunctional enough, it would, in essence, do the work for you. Whoever started this wants us to finish it.
See how we rocking? New gear in. Yeah, new gear in. I made these today. These just too far. These just too far. Yup.
Germans were contacting Muhammad Ali in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. They were persistent. They wanted his seminal fluid. Why? Because he had superhuman DNA. Henrietta Lacks was born in, I think, 1929 or something like that. She was taken to the hospital for something very brief, but the doctors noticed that her cells kept regenerating. Her cells did something that no human cells had done. Her cells were regenerating by themselves outside of her body in a laboratory. They call those the immortal HeLa cells. From Henrietta Lacks, she had superhuman DNA. In the NFL and the NBA, the owners know that we as so-called black people have superhuman abilities. When we jump with our heads above the rim. We have superhuman abilities and superhuman DNA, but we have a problem. Other people know about the superhuman DNA and the skills that we have.